What if everything you were taught about love was a lie? What if the fairy tales, the timelines, the endless advice on finding the one were never meant for a woman like her? The kind of woman who doesn't chase, who doesn't shrink herself to fit a mold, who doesn't wait to be chosen, because she already chose herself. They look at her life and see a gap. She looks at her life and sees freedom. This isn't about giving up on love. This is about something deeper, something far more dangerous to the world's expectations. A woman who realizes she doesn't need anyone to complete her. This is why strong women stay single. And once you understand this, you'll never look at her the same again. There's a quiet power in choosing to be alone. It's not the absence of company. It's the presence of something deeper, the presence of yourself. The world often tells us that to be a woman, to be complete, we must find someone to walk alongside us, to mirror back our worth. Society makes us believe that to be truly fulfilled, we must be part of a partnership, a relationship, a story where we are never alone. But there's another story, a story where solitude is not a void to be filled, but a space to be honored, a space where we don't need someone else to make us feel whole, where we can discover the depths of who we are. And yet in this world, strong women who choose to walk this path, who choose to be single, are often misunderstood. They are seen as intimidating, unapproachable, or simply too much. But the truth is, these women are the very definition of empowered. They have chosen the hardest, most courageous path, one of emotional independence and personal growth. In a world obsessed with coupling, the woman who remains single by choice is revolutionary. She rejects the idea that love should come with compromise or validation. She is a woman who has learned to love herself enough to not settle for less than she deserves. In her singlehood, she is not empty. She is full of her own potential, her own dreams, her own power. Today, we explore the reasons why strong women choose to stay single, not because they fear relationships, but because they understand the sacredness of their own journey. This is the truth of womanhood. It is not defined by anyone other than you. From the time we're young, society whispers to us that we are not enough. As women, the world tells us that to be worthy, we must have someone by our side, someone to hold our hand through the ups and downs of life. Movies, books, songs, they all promote the notion that love is the ultimate goal, the completion of a woman's life. But here lies the illusion, the idea that we are incomplete until we find someone else. This myth runs deep. It's ingrained in the very fabric of our socialization, in the narratives we hear from childhood, and the expectations we are taught to live up to. We are told that to be valuable, we must fit a mold. That mold is a partnership. A woman is not truly herself unless she has someone to love and be loved by. But here's the truth. A woman does not need anyone to complete her. She is already whole. She is already enough. The idea that a woman needs a partner to be fulfilled is not only an outdated societal norm, it's a trap. This myth keeps women trapped in relationships that do not serve them, that diminish their potential, that rob them of their inner strength. When a woman chooses to be single, she is rejecting the idea that anyone can define her worth. She understands that she is complete on her own. She is not searching for someone to fill a void, because there is no void to fill. By choosing solitude, she frees herself from the weight of external validation. She is no longer bound by the need to prove her worth through her relationships. She steps into her own power, recognizing that she is enough as she is. If this message speaks to the strength within you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because more women deserve to hear this truth. Emotional independence is a treasure. It is the ability to stand strong in your own emotional space without leaning on another person to define your feelings, your actions, or your choices. For strong women who choose to stay single, emotional independence becomes a cornerstone of their identity. They understand that in solitude, they have the space to discover who they truly are, not who someone else expects them to be. It's easy to fall into the trap of depending on others for emotional validation. When we are in relationships, we often look to our partners to fill the emotional gaps: love, acceptance, reassurance. But when you are single, you realize that emotional stability comes from within. You do not need another person to define your worth or to give you the validation you crave. You are your own source of strength. Self-awareness becomes a key element of emotional independence. When you are alone, you can truly hear your thoughts, understand your desires, and confront your insecurities. You no longer have the noise of another person's expectations or emotional needs clouding your judgment. You are free to explore your own emotional landscape, heal from past wounds, and grow into a stronger, more centered version of yourself. Carl Jung's concept of individuation, the process by which a person integrates the conscious and unconscious parts of themselves, comes into play here. Strong women who choose solitude are often undergoing their own process of individuation. They are becoming whole, integrating all the parts of themselves, both light and shadow. In solitude, they have the time and space to face their deepest fears and heal from old wounds. They emerge more resilient, more self-assured, and more in tune with their inner truth. Emotional independence allows these women to stand firm in their convictions. It gives them the strength to walk away from relationships that do not serve them. It empowers them to say no to the things that drain their energy and yes to the things that nourish their soul. In solitude, strong women find the strength to be emotionally self-sufficient. They learn to love themselves first, and from that foundation, they can approach relationships from a place of balance rather than dependence. Choosing to remain single allows a woman to embrace vulnerability in a way that is not often possible in relationships. Vulnerability is often seen as weakness in many circles, but in reality, it is the greatest strength a person can possess. To be vulnerable is to be authentic, to show up in the world as you truly are, without the layers of defense and facades that we sometimes wear to protect ourselves. In relationships, women can feel pressured to suppress their vulnerabilities in order to maintain a sense of strength or to meet the needs of another person. The pressure to constantly perform, to always be the strong one, can weigh heavily. But when a woman is single, she is free to explore her vulnerabilities without the fear of being judged or rejected. She can confront her fears, her insecurities, her past traumas, without the need to protect someone else's emotions. This is a gift. It is in this space that true healing happens. A strong woman who chooses to remain single has the courage to face her emotional truths. She acknowledges her scars, accepts her imperfections, and understands that these parts of herself do not make her weak. They make her human. It is only through embracing vulnerability that she can truly heal, grow, and expand into the person she was always meant to be. Moreover, vulnerability fosters deep self-compassion. She learns to care for herself the way she would care for a loved one, with tenderness and understanding. This act of self-love creates a foundation that is unshakable, one that no relationship can provide unless it is built upon a deep understanding of oneself.
Personal growth is an ongoing journey, and for many women, it is a journey that requires space and solitude to unfold fully. Relationships, while fulfilling in their own right, can sometimes become distractions from the deeper work that needs to be done. When a woman chooses to stay single, she is saying yes to herself, to the process of self-discovery, and to the opportunity for continuous growth. This space allows a woman to invest deeply in herself, her passions, her goals, her dreams. She has the freedom to pursue the things that excite her without the compromises that often come with a partnership. Whether it's starting a new career, learning a new skill, or traveling the world, being single gives her the ability to prioritize her own journey. There is no one else's needs to meet, no one else's dreams to support. It is her time to shine. Furthermore, the solo path gives her the opportunity to define success on her own terms. In a world that often tries to shape women's paths according to someone else's expectations, staying single allows her to follow her own compass. She can decide what success means to her without being influenced by societal pressures or the expectations of a partner. Jung's concept of self-actualization comes into play here. Personal growth is about realizing one's potential, aligning with one's true self, and stepping into a life that reflects authentic desires. A woman who embraces her solitude is actively participating in her own self-actualization, molding herself into the best version of who she was meant to be. Solitude fosters this growth, because it gives space for introspection, creativity, and learning. In a relationship, you might find yourself compromising on the things that truly matter to you. But in your own company, you can fully explore the vastness of your potential without limits. If you see yourself in these words, give this video a like, pass it on, and make sure you're subscribed. This is just the beginning. When we think of relationships, we often think of dependency, two people leaning on each other to fill emotional gaps or to create a sense of security. But real strength, especially for women, is in learning to form connections that are not based on need, but on mutual respect and admiration. Choosing to stay single doesn't mean rejecting relationships altogether. Rather, it's about redefining what a healthy relationship looks like. It's about creating bonds that are grounded in mutual growth, emotional independence, and freedom. The strong woman who chooses to stay single is not closing herself off from love. She is simply demanding a different kind of connection. She knows that true partnership should not be about filling an emotional gap, but about bringing together two whole people who are already complete in themselves. In a relationship, she expects her partner to challenge her, to inspire her, to support her growth. But she does not need him to define her happiness. She understands that happiness is an inside job, something she must cultivate within herself. This shift in perspective can also reshape how women interact with their family, friends, and colleagues. The strength of a woman who is comfortable being alone enables her to show up more authentically in all of her relationships. She no longer feels the need to prove herself or seek validation. She can form connections from a place of wholeness, knowing that the relationships she builds are not based on dependency, but on shared respect and mutual benefit. In fact, many women who choose to remain single find that their friendships become deeper and more fulfilling. They invest more in their personal connections because they are no longer distracted by the demands of a romantic relationship. Their time, energy, and love can be directed toward friendships, family, and communities where they can truly thrive. Strong women who stay single understand that the most important relationship they will ever have is the one with themselves. Once this relationship is solid, they are able to approach others not from a place of need, but from a place of abundance and genuine love. There comes a moment in a strong woman's life when peace becomes more seductive than passion, when the high of temporary affection no longer matches the deep calm of her solitude. She's tasted the chaos. She's played the roles. She's carried the weight of someone else's growth while neglecting her own. And now? She chooses herself. She no longer fears silence. She craves it, because silence means no manipulation, no guessing games, no performative smiles or love that comes with invisible terms and conditions. She's not running from love. She's running from the conditions love came with. She no longer chases butterflies in her stomach. She chases clarity, peace, the kind of life that lets her breathe without bracing for the next storm. In this stillness, something extraordinary rises. A rhythm, a presence, a knowing that no external voice could give her. And in that space, her truth echoes louder than any compliment ever could. Alone, not lonely. Peaceful, no drama. Independent, not frail. Freedom, no concessions. Happy, no heartaches. This is her revolution. This is her liberation. And this is why she stays single, not because she can't find love, but because she's not willing to lose herself to feel it. She's not bitter. She's clear. She's not afraid. She's awake. And most of all, she's not lonely. She's in alignment. Because to a strong woman, peace isn't a luxury, it's a non-negotiable. And if being single is the price for that peace, she'll pay it every time. The path of a woman who chooses to stay single is not just about personal growth or healing, it is also an act of defiance against a society that has long dictated what success should look like for women. For centuries, the societal script has been clear. Women are supposed to marry, have children, and settle into a defined role within the family unit. When a woman steps off this prescribed path, she is often met with judgment, assumptions, and sometimes even disdain. But strong women who choose to remain single are not deterred by this judgment. They know that they do not need to conform to the expectations set by society to live a fulfilling and meaningful life. They are the disruptors of outdated narratives, and in doing so, they embody the kind of radical self-empowerment that breaks the mold. Rejection of societal norms isn't just about refusing to marry, it's about challenging everything that comes with the assumption that a woman's life has less value if she is not in a traditional partnership. The message that women should somehow complete themselves through marriage is one that leaves little room for individual growth or self-exploration. When a woman chooses to stay single, she says, "I am enough as I am." This rejection isn't easy. It requires constant bravery to deflect unsolicited opinions, to ignore well-meaning but often misinformed advice, and to live boldly in a world that may not fully understand her choices. It's especially challenging when societal pressures come from family members or friends who might view her decision as a sign of loneliness, or worse, of failure. Yet the strong woman knows that she is not failing by remaining single. She is choosing herself first and foremost. She is building a life on her own terms. This courage is deeply rooted in self-respect. The strong woman refuses to let anyone's idea of happiness define what hers should be. She knows that societal expectations are just that, expectations, and not universal truths. She understands that there is power in walking her own path, no matter how unconventional it may seem. By rejecting these pressures, a woman is actively reclaiming her autonomy. She is reminding herself that her life is hers to design, and that her worth is not tied to whether or not she is married or partnered. This kind of self-awareness and confidence isn't just liberating, it is revolutionary. Moreover, by stepping away from these expectations, she sets a powerful example for others, particularly for younger women who may be feeling the weight of societal pressure. She shows them that it is possible to live a full, rich, and joyful life without adhering to a prescribed formula of what it means to be successful. A strong woman's courage to remain single is a quiet yet powerful act of rebellion. She dismantles harmful ideals and paves the way for a future where all women can be free to live their lives authentically, without fear of judgment or social punishment. This message matters. Help amplify it. Like this video, share it with someone brave, and subscribe to walk this journey with us. Perhaps one of the most underestimated yet profound benefits of choosing to stay single is the deep sense of freedom that comes with solitude. Freedom is often thought of in terms of physical space, financial independence, or the ability to make decisions without needing to consult others. However, the most significant freedom a strong woman experiences when she chooses to remain single is the freedom of self-determination. When a woman is single, she is the sole architect of her life. Every decision, from how she spends her time to what she prioritizes, is entirely up to her. There is no one else to consult, no compromises to be made for the sake of a partner. This autonomy is a form of liberation that many women do not realize they are missing until they experience it. Freedom in solitude extends to many areas of life. For instance, a woman who is single has the ability to cultivate her own routines and rituals. She can wake up when she wants, spend her days however she chooses, and pursue her passions without having to consider anyone else's needs or schedule. This independence allows her to invest more fully in her personal interests, whether that means traveling, focusing on a career, diving into a creative pursuit, or simply enjoying quiet moments alone. Moreover, the ability to make decisions purely based on her desires and needs brings a sense of ownership over her life. She is free from the constraints of another person's opinions, expectations, or desires. This freedom is not just about doing whatever she wants. It's about aligning her life more deeply with her values and priorities. Solitude also cultivates self-reliance in a way that relationships sometimes cannot. When a woman is on her own, she learns how to navigate life's challenges without the comfort of a partner's support. She learns how to stand tall in the face of adversity, how to rely on her own strength, and how to take responsibility for her own happiness. This is the kind of empowerment that cannot be obtained from anyone else. It is a gift that comes solely from within. There is also an emotional freedom that comes with solitude. Being single allows a woman to release the emotional baggage that can come from trying to maintain a relationship, especially if it is not aligned with her true self. She can let go of past hurts, expectations, and the fears that have sometimes held her back. This is not a lonely existence, but one that is filled with peace, inner calm, and the joy of personal growth. For some women, this freedom might even lead them to reconsider the very nature of love and intimacy. They may come to understand that love does not have to be confined to romantic relationships. True intimacy can be experienced with close friends, family, and even within the self. The freedom of solitude allows a woman to redefine what it means to connect deeply with others, finding richness in relationships that are not bound by societal norms. The strength of a woman who embraces the freedom of solitude lies in her ability to stand firm in her own space, to recognize that she is enough as she is. She does not need a partner to complete her life, nor does she need validation from anyone outside herself to know that she is worthy. Solitude is not about isolation. It's about empowerment. It is about taking control of one's own life, forging a path that aligns with personal dreams, desires, and ambitions. In this space, she can hear her own voice more clearly. She can tune into her intuition, make decisions from a place of wisdom, and follow the path that is uniquely hers. This autonomy, this freedom, is the foundation of her strength. In a world where romantic relationships are often touted as the ultimate form of fulfillment, a strong woman who chooses to stay single must redefine what love means to her. She recognizes that love is not a one-size-fits-all concept. It's not about conforming to the traditional notion of romantic love as the pinnacle of human connection. Instead, she understands that love exists in many forms, most importantly, within herself. The strong woman who embraces singlehood is not rejecting love. On the contrary, she is opening herself up to love on her own terms. She doesn't need to be in a relationship to experience deep emotional connections, tenderness, or affection. Her ability to love transcends the traditional confines of romance. She can love herself fiercely, engage deeply with friends and family, and give her time and energy to causes or passions that ignite her soul. For her, love is not a transactional exchange. It's a state of being. She knows that love, when rooted in self-awareness and personal growth, can be transformative. Her life is not devoid of love simply because she is single. She is surrounded by love. In the way she cares for herself, in the friendships she cultivates, and in the way she gives her energy to the world around her. Moreover, when a woman stays single by choice, she liberates herself from the notion that romantic relationships are the only way to experience fulfillment. Instead, she creates space for other kinds of connection, spiritual, intellectual, and platonic. These relationships, although non-romantic, can offer just as much depth, meaning, and support as any romantic connection could. She also recognizes that romantic relationships are not the only avenue for self-discovery or growth. Many women find their most profound transformations during periods of solitude. The time spent alone allows them to focus on their own emotional needs, process past experiences, and refine their sense of self-worth. This inner journey of self-love and self-acceptance is often more profound than anything a partnership could offer. Choosing to remain single, then, is not about closing herself off from the world. Rather, it's about opening herself up to the most authentic and fulfilling connections possible. She is free to love fully, but on her own terms, and by doing so, she cultivates a love that is pure, unwavering, and unconditional, both for herself and others. At the heart of every woman who chooses to remain single is a profound understanding of her own worth. She is not defined by a relationship or by the presence of a partner in her life. Her identity is carved from her own experiences, her strength, and her unyielding commitment to growth. The decision to stay single is not an abandonment of love or companionship. It is a declaration of self-love, self-determination, and personal empowerment. Choosing to be single is not about being alone. It is about embracing solitude and the freedom that comes with it. It is about creating space for personal growth, challenging societal expectations, and living authentically without compromise. It's about saying, I am enough and I do not need anyone to complete me. I am whole on my own. In doing so, she becomes a beacon of strength for others, a living example that true power lies within, not in the validation or approval of others. She shows us that a fulfilling life is not about fitting into a mold, but about forging your own path. Whether she chooses to remain single forever or one day enters a relationship, she will do so on her own terms, never sacrificing her independence or her peace for the sake of societal norms. The strong woman who chooses to stay single understands the most important truth. She is complete as she is. She is empowered in her solitude, and her life, full of purpose and fulfillment, is a reflection of the strength that comes from embracing her independence. This is the truth of the strong single woman. She is not waiting for someone else to fill her life with meaning. She is the author of her own story, and in her pages, she writes a narrative of strength, freedom, and unapologetic self-love. If something inside you was touched by this story, maybe it's because deep down, you too are ready for a new kind of love. A love that begins with reconciliation with yourself. A love that feeds on silence, presence, and truth. A love that can't be negotiated, begged for, or disguised. And if that love hasn't come yet, maybe it's because you first needed to become the woman who no longer accepts less than she deserves. And if this message found you at the right moment or awakened someone you forgot was living inside you, then I invite you not to keep it to yourself. Share this video with other women who need to remember their own strength. Like it, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Not out of impulse, but out of choice. Because when something touches the soul, the least we can do is let it keep resonating within us and through us.